Anyone need permission today? I believe that the world is so much more forgiving than we think it is. I believe that the world is so much more immersed in and full of love than we even tap into, realize, captivate, or tend to demonstrate. When we can release any ideas, any judgments, and fully embrace each other authentically, I believe we give the world, we give the earth what it is constantly craving. It is craving an experience of authenticity, an experience of the divine, not separate from, not judging, but merging with humanity. Have you given yourself this permission? Have you given yourself permission to look at and to behold the light, the divine in all of you? Do we give that permission to others? If you're a man, have you given yourself permission to embrace your divine feminine? If you haven't, then unity is the place for you. Is that going to bring us more gentlemen? I don't know. But really, truly, we're all on the path of unfolding our Christed consciousness, our divine being, our absolute essence. And when we really get on that path, we begin to recognize that it's not about man or woman, it's not about male or female, it's about the absolute aspect of all of us as spiritual beings unfolding in God consciousness. And that is magnificent, and that goes beyond gender, that goes beyond choices. That is the birthright of every human being. I've given myself permission to be crazy, to be the woman in that song. I just had someone over at the house. If you know anything about the house, it's fun. It's fun. It really is fun. The latest little adventure was having the pest control folks come out, which if you know me very well, you know that there must have been something pretty significant or large going on for that to happen, for me to invite pest control out very happily, within 3 days and 3 cockroaches and going, okay, let's call. But I got to tell you a little behind the scenes story. So there were 2 calls to 2 different people, same company, one on each phone, and one I talked with about my experience as a teacher when in the schools they would need to catch mice, and they had those traps that were the gluey traps, right? And being the sensitive soul that I was, and I'm not even going to tell you the experience that I had, but and I just don't want to sour your Mother's Day with this because I know you're all going to brunch, so I'm going to nutshell this story. But if you know about those little glue things, some interesting things can happen to the poor little bugger that gets on there. Like they got to get off somehow. That's all we'll say. So. And then they die. But anyway, so I said to the guy, what do you use? And, do you use those glue traps? And, I said, do you kill them? And he said, well, I don't kill them. And I was like, okay, give me more information. So he said, well, we can poison them, we can use the glue traps, or we can catch them. And I said, okay, so, and this is a little bit bad me, but I was like, I'm okay with either of the poisoning or the catching them, right? But I thought, too, to myself, if we don't find a way for them not to keep coming back in, then what's the point in killing them? Because, just they're going to keep coming, and then I'm just like a graveyard for mice, right? But anyway, long story short, the other guy is the guy that came in to put the traps. So I talked to one person about this idea and this solution, and then the other one came, and right as he was getting ready to leave, and we're signing the check, I said, so, and you didn't use those glue traps, right? And he said, oh yeah, they're all glue traps. So right after I wrote the check for, no, just kidding. And I thought, so said goodbye to him, and then I went around with my bucket, this big bucket, finding all the little spots in the house where I just paid someone to put a bunch of glue traps down behind the toilet, under the cabinet, in the everywhere around the house. And I came back downstairs with a bucket of glue traps, to which, I got a fun response from the people that were with me, just going, okay. Can we embrace all of ourselves. No matter what it looks like, no matter if on the outside it seems crazy, no matter what it is, but when we feel that essence of self, when we feel even the divine feminine essence emerging, and it doesn't go with reason, it doesn't go with all of these things we think we're supposed to use to show up in the world, are we willing to follow it? Are we willing to make full and complete space for it in our lives? I believe this is our birthright. I believe it's what we're here to do. And I believe the world is craving authenticity, craving real honesty, craving deep acceptance. So what is the divine feminine nature? Because if we're to fully accept the self, we accept the allness. We talk about God a lot as masculine, but if you've delved into the scriptures, you know that God is masculine, God is feminine, and God is, in fact, beyond form, beyond person, right? So in Unity, we don't teach about a God that's modeled after us, right? We teach about an essence of God in which we all emanate and we all model the activity of. So that would make us have a concept of God beyond man and beyond woman. But in the scriptures, when you hear about Lady Wisdom, that is reference to the metaphysical and the mystical teachings of God as divine feminine. Lady Wisdom. So what is this divine nature? Where do we find it? What does it feel like? What does it look like? Do you think that we're ready to have more of it on our planet? Yes. Amen. Amen, brother. That's right. I did it because I'm talking so much sister today. All right. From Proverbs. This is one of my favorite passages. Happy are those who find wisdom and those who get understanding. For her income is better than silver, and her revenue better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called happy. In thinking about the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and even our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, I came to this deeper understanding, this deeper experience, the metaphysical experience that goes beyond. And we talk about Myrtle as being the heart or the mother of unity. Myrtle Fillmore had her healing, and she taught God is love. And if God is such pure love, then I can only inherit that love, that anything unlike that love can be eliminated from my space. Now, Charles, after watching this demonstration in Myrtle and hearing the same things, but not necessarily having the same experience, looked at what Myrtle experienced, looked at her consciousness, looked at her activity, looked at the effects of that consciousness, and said, if that is so, then there's something here to learn. There's something here to analyze, to judge, to take apart, to look at, to separate, and then to model, to demonstrate, to create from, to fertilize, to magnify, to multiply. They're a perfect example of the aspects of consciousness that are divine feminine and divine masculine. And God help anyone who only stays with one and not the other. Because if one is to fertilize, to multiply, to activate, to demonstrate without this basis of pure love, without this basis of that which experiences, that which flows and grows, that which births the love and the Christ, that which is the true mother essence of God, of you, of me, of all life, then we birth and we multiply not in accordance with wisdom. But when we look at it like a yin and yang, they are absolutely complete balances, complements of each other, and they need each other in order to found a firm foundation in which to birth and which to grow. Have you ever known a parent that you called your mother that may have been not of the gender that a mother generally is. I have a girlfriend who, when she thought about mothering and when she said, who is my true mother, her father came to mind. Anyone share that experience? The father came to mind. And then I know people who consider their parent to be both mother and father and said, you were both to me. You parented me. And they get a Mother's Day card and they get a Father's Day card. Is there anyone you send a Mother's Day card to that's not a mother, biologically, physically? I got one from my mama. I think it's the first one I got. And when I opened it, I thought, I opened it yesterday thinking, well, it's just a regular card from my mama. But it wasn't just a regular card, it was a Mother's Day card. I think I forgot to bring it with me. But on this card it said, I'm sending you this card because through rite of consciousness and through rite of passage, I see you as one that births that nurturing spirit in our world. Go, Mama. So are we willing to let go of all the paradigms and pause for life, to recognize, to cultivate, to activate the spirit of mothering in ourselves, to acknowledge it in all beings? As we do, miracle unfolds. And as we do, we experience our own lives as engulfed in divinity. In a book that puts together Charles and Myrtle's work, it says this: in reading the Old Testament, we may conceive of God as a person with a scope of human emotions that includes likes, dislikes, pleasures, and displeasures. Perhaps most disturbing is the idea that human beings could affect the emotions of the Creator through their behavior. This concept holds little hope for our welfare. This is a false belief we may have in sense consciousness. God as love is unconditional. God's creations and resulting formations receive this love without conditions or strings. This love is pure. It contains no conflict of any kind. Some examples of conflict are fear, hate, jealousy, resentment, sickness, pain, feelings of inferiority or superiority, anger, shame, guilt. Love is being's pure essence that binds together the universe and everything in it. By refusing to see anything but good, it causes good to appear in all things. God love is the harmonizing principle of being. So where is love? And how do we create it? Love is that divine nurturing energy that sees beyond form, that doesn't see right and wrong. Have you experienced yourself as you develop along your spiritual practice, recognizing that when you used to see in judgments, when you used to see in black and white, when you used to react or think, ooh, that's right, or ooh, that's wrong, you end up surprising yourself and realizing what's really there is simply compassion. What's really there is simply a desire to be part of love. In fact, a calling to be part of love. And in fact, there's another part of your mind, the carnal mind, that actually turns off, takes a back seat, sits down. It may have some little character bubbles by it with some words and stuff, but it just sits there while the fullness of you goes on to presence what is before you, to pause. That pause, I believe, is where the divine feminine exists for each of us and in our world. Do we stop long enough to feel it? The divine feminine is not something that we can actually create because it is already created. It's not something that we can find somewhere else because it is everywhere present. The steps are to first realize that it already is. It is self-existent. It cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be developed and demonstrated. The second is to recognize it when we see it. How can we develop something if we don't pause for it, recognize it, see it, and become so close to it, so immersed in it that we let it have its way within our being? The next is to embrace authenticity. Because if we're resisting any aspect of self, if we have an idea of separation between my humanity and my divinity, my masculinity and my feminine, my earth and my heaven consciousness, then I've set up a battle of sorts. So once I begin to see it all as a yin and yang, as a swirling, as a flow, I can take the next step of removing my labels, my judgments, my expectations, and I can trade them for presencing each moment. I can trade them for miracles. I thought of an acronym for the word pause, P-A-U-S-E, pause. Presence, authentically underscoring the spiritual experience. When we birth presence, do you know the moment I'm talking about? The moment in life, the moment when you look in someone's eye, the moment where you re-see something, where you rethink something, and all of a sudden, life has a soundtrack. It happens every time a baby's born. It happens at the moment of death. It happens all of the time for all of us if we're willing to see it and willing to look at it. It's that moment that someone hugs you or holds you, and so much more is going on. It's the moment of a divine appointment when even if you could have sent a wish list to Spirit and said, exactly at this time in my life, I need a person like that. I need this divine appointment. I need to meet someone, to see something, to hear something, to do something. I need. And you never sent the letter, and there it is, filling each moment. That's the beauty of the feminine. That's the beauty of God as love. There's God as law, but that's for another day. I want to share with you a song that I wrote. It's a song that I wrote when I was leaving Denver, Colorado. I had been a teacher for 5 years. And I've told you before that I'm one of those sappy souls. And I always had this just little hitch in my giddy up of, soulmate. Where's a soulmate? Where's a boyfriend, a partner, a husband? Whoa, it's me. Whoa, it's me. And it got to some whoa. And I had a moment as I was leaving Denver to come to ministerial school. You know those moments where Spirit underscores the entire experience and everything becomes light and everything becomes more than you thought it was or you thought it could be. A moment that makes miracles out of ordinary moments, a moment that makes the ordinary extraordinary. And I realized all of a sudden, as I was getting ready to leave, that in fact I did have my soulmates. I had quite a few of them. And that time was marked for me as a time with wonderful girlfriends, wonderful, wonderful energies of the feminine nature, of females in my life that stood for me, that together, not apart, not one of them, like you would think in a partner, but if I looked at all of them and if I looked at that phase in my life, I realized in a moment that it is an illusion that I have ever been without. That in fact it was my vision that was mistaken, and that everything together was Spirit making up the perfect partner. And then I got ready to leave. Could you tell me where all the time went? Could you tell me where all my life went? 'Cause I've been waiting for the start. Could you tell me why I was looking through veils searching for more. Through the door, my one regret was not believing the magic all around, that I was living with you right here. This ain't no normal love song, 'cause it's the first I didn't write about a man. This one's dedicated to the girls who've held my hand. I know your stories and you know my secrets. I know your glory and you know my weakness, and I get tears just from the thought. So thanks for all the times that I stopped looking. You took my eyes and kept me pushing on through, back to me. This ain't no normal love song, it's the first I didn't write about a man. This one's dedicated to the girls who've held my hand. Could you tell me how this could be ending? Because up to now I've been sweet on spending my time with you. I know that you know what I'm saying. Girl, you never know the role you're playing for me. So even though I know I don't always say it, girl, you've gotta know you get credit from me. From me. 'Cause this ain't no normal love song, 'cause it's the first I didn't write about a man. This one's dedicated to the girls who've held my hand. No, this ain't no normal love song. Babe, she ain't a man. This one is reserved for the women who've helped me stand. Here's to the women who've helped me stand. If the women would stand, the women who've helped me stand. Here's to the women who've helped us Namaste.